Welcome back to Pisobilities. This is Guita Gopalan of Colayco Foundation. So with us today is our trust banking officers from LandBank to talk about UITF'S, Mr. Rizaldy Cadinez and Ms. Cervero from LandBank. So for our viewers, you can remember text in your questions to 0917-853-7333. Kindly indicate your name and location so we can properly acknowledge you. So UITF'S, it's not something that a lot of people know. We've established that in our earlier segment. But like basically, how does it work, no? So tao ako, I have money, I go to LandBank or maybe even other banks that have UITF'S. What happens? What do I do? What happens with my money once I put it with LandBank UITF?
Gaya nga na nabanggit ko kanina, no? When you go to LandBank, so of course you go through the suitability.
So this matches you?
Yes, matches. Okay. Yung branch manager or yung accredited branch manager. Kasi not all bank officers can actually offer UITF.
So hindi
There's
pwedeng,
a certain,
like sa teller lang ako pumunta?
Hindi.
Okay.
Yung accredited siya na UITF, na marketer, no? So, ika-client suitability ka and ima-match yung UITF na appropriate for your risk profile.
Ano kung ayoko yung minatch sa akin?
Pagka kung ayaw may match sa'yo, you will always respect naman yung self-assessment ng client. Okay? If his or her own assessment would basically be bababa, kunyari, moderate risk ang assessment sa'yo and you want a more conservative portfolio, then that's fine.
I see.
So, hindi naman namin pipilit kasi that's why we're doing the suitability para yung expectations na mag-match.
Okay.
But if you want a more aggressive UITF, then we will have to disclose the risks and at the same time have you sign yung client's waiver of the client suitability.
So assuming ma'am, okay na, kunwari na game na ako, I want to invest in UITF'S.
Okay.
I mean, one thing we teach in Colayco Foundation is you have to understand what happens with your money once you put it somewhere. So what happens with my money? What is it that I'm buying, I guess?
Okay.
Or what am I putting it on?
Okay. You're actually buying an investment.
Okay.
No? So that's why depends on the type of UITF that you will go into. Like if you will go into the government security and fixed income fund, then yun na lang yung pangalan na lang niya tells you that the investments that we will be buying in that pool of fund will be government securities. And probably in fixed income, that would also include some corporate bonds.
Do I get, like you mentioned, corporate bonds? Do I get to choose what companies you invest in?
Hindi na. Kasi
okay.
There is a plan. There is what we call, yung UITF, each UITF would have plan rules.
Okay.
Nandito na, nakapasok na doon kung the limit of the government securities, usually 100% naman ng government securities because it's risk-free. For corporate bonds, like we can say only the AAA, the AA, or
yun yung mga rating, kung kaya nilang bayaran.
Or bonds na, ano lang siya, parang usually naman we only invest into yung credit-worthy na corporate bonds, no? And tradable, kaya nga siya, bonds. And then we also have a limit. No? We can't invest all the funds into one
so
company.
Hindi ka pwede, kunwari, tumaya na lang yung, the fund manager can't like put everything on. Alam niyang ito, sobrang galing nito, hindi niya papasok.
Our funds would be diversified as well as, yun nga yung limit sa 15%, yun ang limit per security, no? And then
when you say per security, so like only up to 15% in
of
corporate
the whole,
bonds?
No, of one security, kunyari.
Okay. So kunwari si San Miguel nagpautang, hanggang 15% lang ng fund ng ano na yun. I see, okay.
So you parang diversify siya. You don't expose the fund into yung concentrated into one sector or one company. So yan. So basically, all these investments are, these are investments na ini-investan din ng bangko eh. I don't know, the big banks, yung
I
mga
see.
ganon. So, when the banks get deposits, they also invest into these types of investments for their position. So, yun ang binibigay namin na access for the UITF clients. So, ipupool natin yung tig 10,000 hanggat magkaroon ng 1 million, 10 million. So, we can buy yung mga in the exchange, yung mga yung government securities naman, readily available naman yan sa PDEX, pwede yan sa exchange, and also stocks. So, pwede ka sa stock exchange. So, yan. Parang lang din yan, trading. Talagang trading, no? Na the bigger the volume, you get a better price, di ba?
So, parang yung pera mo, nakikiangkas ka dun sa pera ng iba. I see.
Hindi. Parang sosyo-sosyo.
I see.
Parang ganon. Ang lang doon is accounted for lahat yung your share, your proportionate share doon sa fund na yon. Doon yung tinatawag namin unit share. Unit share.
Okay.
Kasi kunyari, you have 100 million UITF, kunyari lang, 100 million. So, kung may 10,000 ka, yung proportionate share mo accounted for din doon. So, all the income that will be derived from all the investments are proportionately also distributed to the
How will I
investor.
know, let's say, I put in 10,000. How will I know what I will get? Parang, paano ko malalaman kung, kasi you mentioned already, it's not a deposit product, diba?
There's no guarantee.
So, wala ring parang interest. Hindi siya parang automatic 1% a year. Like, how do you know what you're gonna be getting? Parang ganon.
Basically, you cannot, parang hindi kami makasabi ng rate upfront kasi it's an investment eh. So, like, when you put your funds into your investment into the fund, no? May price na yan eh. Mapapresyo na yan. UITF is priced daily.
May
daily.
price.
May price siya
So, para
daily.
pala siyang parang stock market na yung may presyo yung isang stock, tapos dun mo bibilhin. Parang ganon.
Parang in terms of yung accounting lang,
Okay.
to know your proportionate share.
Okay.
Pero hindi, kasi baka maisip na para siyang stock market, parang yung volatility din ng stock market, parang
Na
ganun din.
hindi ganun dito.
Yung pricing methodology lang, yun lang yung unit share,
Okay.
masasabi sa
So,
UITF.
your 10,000 buys units of a certain price. Parang ganon. Okay.
So, kasi, of course, you have to segregate yung new entrant from the existing clients. That's why you have to price it. So, you can actually proportionately also distribute the income. So, yun lang yung concept ng why we price it daily.
I see.
So,
paano po yun? Ganun din po, how will you know later on, let's say you put in your money, after 6 months, kailangan mo na, parang how will you know if you made money or not?
meron tayong, we have a website wherein you can get the daily prices of the UITF. So, kung naibili mo siya ng, kunyari, piso, no? So, after 2 months, 3 months, or even a year, and you see na more than 1 peso na siya, then that basically becomes, the difference becomes the income.
It follows the concept of buy low, sell high, parang gano'n.
Hindi naman siya, kasi katulad ngayon, hindi siya yung katulad din ng stocks. No? Sa UITF, it's an investment na sana hindi siya yung parang speculative yung outlook. No? I would suggest for you to be able to gain more out of the UITF, you should have a longer-term perspective. No? For your short-term needs or liquidity needs, kasi the money market is minimum sometimes 30 days lang. No? Put it in parang 3 buckets yun eh. 3 buckets as I would call it. The short-term bucket, no? And then the medium-term bucket, and the long-term bucket. So, yung short-term bucket, yung gagastusin ko for the next 3 months or whatever, I'll put it there sa money market instead of, ordinary savings, no, at least
So
nag-earn
you
siya.
can invest that short term in the money market
Yes,
UITF?
30 days na minimum holding period na money
okay.
market. Then, for the medium-term bucket, like maybe I'll probably travel in a year's time, or the tuition fee of the children next year. That one can wait. Pwede ka mag-antay ng 1 year, no? 1 to 2 years, and put it in para medium-term fund. That would be the government security and fixed income fund. Now, and I have another long-term bucket. Ito yung dream ko na in 5 years' time, I'd be able to buy a house or whatever. So yun yung long-term bucket.
Sail around the world.
Yeah, or a second home or whatever, no? So yun long-term bucket mo. Can wait for 3 to 5 years. Yan, makaka-ride out yan ng stock market. Yan mga ganyan klase. Kasi volatilities are there. But if your view is long-term, you would see that charts of the yung sa stock market, dumoble nga dapat sana. Kung it started 2008, that was a global financial crisis. No? Tapos yung 2013, no? Halos dumoble na yun eh. No? If i-ride out mo lang yung volatility, in between that, may ups and downs,
So if you invest in UITF's long term, I mean at least yung mga, yung I think your growth fund and what's your other fund that's
growth
more
fund.
Ano ba?
Yung GSFI, yung Global Securities.
Yung medium, short term, medium term, and long term
What's the
bucket.
performance of your other funds? You mentioned already money market is about 1.3 yung past performance niya. Yung iba nating funds, kamusta naman?
For the Government Securities Fixed Income Fund, yung year-on-year performance niya, nasa 12.41%.
Sir, ano ba ibig sabihin ng year-on-year?
1 year performance.
Kunwari yung mga nag-invest sa UITF na to, the date here is as of June 28, 2013.
Okay.
So kung pumasok ako, for example, last June 28, 2012, if I invested in GSFI, I would have gained 12.41% as of June 28.
12.41 yun, That's net. So,
kumbaga, if I have like 1,000 UITF units, tapos i-redeem ko yan, that's
12.41, yes. Pag nasa growth ka naman,
kung in-redeem mo, kinita ng pera mo is
12.41. 41.
I see, okay.
Pag dun sa isang fund naman, yung aggressive na product namin, yung LandBank Growth Fund, the year-on-year performance is nasa 16.02% naman siya.
Ang liit ng difference between fixed income and because of the decline?
Yes.
Kasama na dyan yung decline, yung lately decline.
Yung past weeks na decline.
Kasama na dyan.
I see you don't have one that's focused only on the equities.
Ay, equities?
Meron pa ba kayong
Wala pa.
Well, kasi naman, di ba, I think LandBank is the biggest mover din naman pagdating sa government securities.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So, so from 1.3, tama? 1.3 to 16.
Yes.
So at least for the past 1 year, ganun yung returns. Historically, are you able to parang if you were really invested in this long term, more or less, what can you expect average per year if you're invested in UITF of LandBank?
Actually, yung 5-year average natin na yung 5-year average natin, parang lumalabas siya na sa, more or less, average na 7%.
Since inception, kasi it's 37.34%. If you
straight
invested at
average
the
mo lang
start
siya.
Is this average per year or is this one point to point?
Point to point.
Point to point. At kailan po ba kayo nag-inception?
2008 lang.
Hindi yung sine, Yung when the fund was created. 2008.
2008,
Uy, kasagsagan ng kababaan pala ng
Yun.
That's for the GSFI, yung government securities.
I see.
Pag dun sa growth naman, 102.46 since inception.
102.46 over. So mga 20+% in your growth fund over the past 4 years.
Yes.
And then about 7 or 8% for the GSFI.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, definitely that beats any savings account, di ba? Oo, kasi ang balita ko pa nga sabi nung mga kaibigan kong trust officer tsaka yung mga talagang banking ang ginagawa, pababa daw ng pababa at bababa pa ang interest rates. So this is really an alternative for them, no? Especially considering the decreased risk of your, especially the GSFI fund, government securities fund. I see. What's ano po ma'am? What are the possible disadvantages if you get into UITFs? Ano yung syempre you mentioned already that you need to disclose the risks. I mean, what are the risks in UITF?
Basically, for the money market fund, the risks are is very low, no? Kasi deposit din naman sila ang investments ng money market. Yung sa government securities is yung price, yung
price, okay.
Market risk and price risk, yung ganun. Kasi
nag-iiba yung price.
Nag-iiba yung presyo. Depends on the market, how the economy is doing. Yung mga ganun. So, bababa din siya. Pwede siyang pumaba, pwede siyang umakyat. So, yun lang, parang hindi rin kami maka-guarantee what is the rate.
So, there are no guarantees in UITF.
Oo, kasi it depends on the market. We follow yung parang pricing of the market. Kung katulad na nabanggit mo ba na kung bababa yung interest rate, no? Kung although we have a different view, no, that it could increase a little bit lang naman, no? So pagka bumababa yung interest rate, the prices will go up, no? Kung tataas ng konti, prices will go down. But all these things job na analyst namin, no? Investment analyst and also the fund manager.
So yun yung benefit, di ba? I guess kasi ikaw magde-decide lahat yan.
Mahirap mamili, no? Which tenor.
Question lang ma'am, curious question. How many people does it take to manage one fund? Parang from your analyst to the person actually doing it. Gaano kalaki yung team ninyo na in charge?
Usually kasi may magka-team yan, no? Yung head, equity portfolio fund manager, and then he would have traders, and then meron pa siyang head of investments and yung investment analyst. That one is parang investment researcher, is independent yan dun sa investment group, no? Para may konti kang third party na analysis yun. So it takes a lot, actually. It takes a lot of analysis and research and monitoring of the market prices for you to be able to invest efficiently and to invest into the government securities and the stock market.
Parang pag nag-invest pala ako sa UITF, boss pala ako ng maraming tao pag ganyan, no? Kasi lahat sila yung inaasikaso pera ko. Isang batalyon pala yan, no?
And we also take into consideration, fund managers, we take into consideration also, syempre, pag bumababa yung market, no, kami din, napupunta din yung namin doon, no, kasi investors yun it's just a stewardship also, no, for us. However, the best of our abilities, no, we do the forecasting and everything, the technical fundamental analysis, na yun, with prudence. Yun naman ng trust kasi, with prudence and in investing. So, we also take into consideration yung each investor.
Okay, so, napakahalaga pala ng opportunity na to na maintindihan natin that we really know what it is about, no? So in the next, when we come back after our break, we'll answer more of we'll actually answer your questions. So if you do have questions, please send them to 0917-853-7333. So stay with us here on GNN, and we shall be back after a short break. Okay. So
Di ko sinasabi sa'yo na magkakakotse ka next year o magkakakondo ka next year. Di ko sinasabing magkaka-house and lot ka na may swimming pool at sariling bakuran o magiging manager ka ng sarili mong fast food restaurant. Di ko sinasabing makakapag-European tour kayo ni Mrs. next month o mapapag-aral si Bunso sa UP at si Kuya sa Ateneo sa susunod na pasukan. Di ko sinasabi ang lahat ng ito para bulahin ka na maraming pwedeng mangyari sa buhay mo bukod sa kung ano ang meron ka ngayon. Ang sinasabi ko lang, walang mangyayari kung manonood ka lang. Tawag ka o text mo kami. o i-click mo ito. www.kskcoop.com. Sabi ko sa'yo, posible ang mga ito.